Okay, good morning, everybody. So we're bringing back Find Out More Friday, which we're going to see as a regular insert for us across our application stack. Today, I wanted to focus just for 10 minutes on the Superoffice screen designer. This isn't meant to be a training course. What it is designed to do is give people an idea of new technology, new things that are being added into our software applications, and to see how they work. The first thing that's worth noting for Screen Designer is this is now an add-on for some clients, standard for others, and it is allowing the screens to be completely redesigned in a way that offers a lot more flexibility, which in turn brings more clarity to the users of the application. The Screen Designer is an ongoing piece of development, so it covers a lot of the application already, but will cover more in the future. Currently, the Screen Designer is available, and you can see on the screen that I'm showing you, the company, the contact, the sale, and the project, and then the archive tabs that come below those headings. I'll explain that more in a little while. So with the Screen Designer, one thing that we have to be aware of is that if a business does not have the Screen Designer, then when they upgrade to version 10, the screen design will revert to a basic layout, i.e. a column, and will not be amendable. So as a user of the application, when your upgrade to version 10 happens, everything defaults to a standard layout. And then if you have access to Screen Designer, and we can see it here on the left-hand side, Screen Designer, this will then allow you to amend those layouts. It will allow you to hide fields. It will allow you to add fields, add headings, and multiple columns. And we'll see that as we progress through today. One of the common requests we get from customers is little things like, for instance, on this this example I'm showing here of F. Albert and some architects, this is all demo data. There's a fax number. Now, quite a few customers say to us, well, I don't really use faxes anymore. And I think we'll probably mostly agree with them. However, there are customers who do use fax, so we need to leave it in there for the foreseeable future. But simply being able to hide or dispose of that field from the screen display, not from the database, is easily achieved. Being able to reorder the layout, for instance, we might want the website higher than the phone number, again, can now easily be achieved. I'm going to step you through that. Again, this is a broad brush overview, so it's not going to answer everybody's question. And again, please don't treat this as training, just giving you a view of what's achievable. So if we start at the top, we're in the Superoffice settings here, so of course different to the primary Superoffice. So we're in the settings tab. I'm currently on the SaaS version here, so I'm online. We have the company card, we have the contact card, we have the sale card, and we have the project card. One thing that's worth noting, if we go back to the company card, you can actually pick the customer that you want to do the design on. Now, this doesn't create an individual screen for that customer, but it allows me to look at a customer that's got the data that I want to be able to show. So in this particular example, I've picked F. Albert and Sons. On the left-hand side, we have a column which is layouts. Now, by standard, when we launch the system, there is a default layout. So the first time we go in, we see there's a default layout. We might want a layout for marketing, and a layout for sales, and a layout for support or case management. And simply, we have the facility down here to add, and we can add in here, create a new one based upon the factory settings or a default. So we can say the factory settings. We can give it a name. So we could call it the design team. And then we can actually assign it to a group. So we could say, if we had a design team as a group of users, we can simply click on it. And that will make this design the default now for that team of people. as with Superoffice and whenever we're using it, we should put a short description in to explain what we're doing. So if somebody else goes into these options, they can see what we've done. So I've designed, so I might put here, I usually sign everything I do with TP. Designed a screen for the design team. I might call it version 1, and it was updated on today's date, which is the 26th, if I remember rightly. Yeah. And then I say OK. So now we have a different design, and I can work through all of these tabs, and it will just affect the team I've assigned this to, which is the technical team in my case. In your case, might be a design team, as I say, or case management team or support team. For the purpose of this, I'm going to delete that and just play with the standard one. Okay, so we've got our default layout. The example that I quoted earlier. So I want to hide the fax number. So I'm previewing the customer F. Albert and Son. I can see the 4 tabs that I would normally see in Superoffice. They're the default tabs. Remember, you can reorder these. And that again will change the default for everybody. I'm then going to go into edit. Now this is a common one, which I think is quite interesting. Remember, this is the screen display the user sees, so you can't click the edit button here. A lot of users come over to here, and I do quite regularly, and press the edit button. That's not the edit button that we want to use. It's this one here, edit layout. This records, as does Superoffice throughout, the date and time of the last change and the person who's done it. So I'm going to edit the layout. And I'm very simply now going to remove the fax number. So I can highlight fax here. I can press the X. That has now gone. Now, please note the word draft just appeared in the background. This is not a published change yet. This is a change on a draft situation. So you can do these, and you can do a number of changes over a number of days before you save and publish. So we can save as draft, and it will not go to the users. Now, what I might want to do, and as I mentioned earlier, was change the website to be higher than the phone number. Some of this is purely to show you would never, in my opinion, put the website above the phone number, but I can simply pick up the 2 bars on the left-hand side, drag them up. That's now changed my screen design. I'm still in draft mode. It's not been published. On the right-hand side, I've got our contact, which may be renamed as it is on a lot of people's systems. We've got category. We've got here a Lakeview code, which is an ERP system that we've used when we've been doing a link. We've got a VAT number. We've got a business type and a main contact. Now, what might be interesting here, and our contact and main contact usually will be very different. That's purely because it's a demonstration system. But I might want to drag main contact up to the top here. So I can do that now. Okay, so I can reorder how my screen's looking. That's a great start. But what else can I do? I want to add some fields into this screen. So I've got my basic screen design, my start, my no mailings, my headers across the top. I might actually want to bring in some additional information. So on the left-hand side here, I have a number of available fields that are in Superoffice. And I can simply scroll up and down, or I can search. So what I want to do is I want to bring in the service contact. So I scroll down here and I say, there's our service contact. Simply pick it up, drag, and I place it there. Again, stress, I'm still in draft mode. So I'm playing with this in order to get to a position where I've got the information looking exactly as I want before I save and publish. What you will notice, and if I bring one thing across, I'll just pick anything because I'm not actually going to place it. Let's pick our account review. When I drag it over, just bring your attention to the fact there are 3 columns. There's one at the end here that isn't currently being used. Now, what I would do, and it's purely a cautionary note, is when you're dealing with the things like the company card, the business information, the notes, be careful about the number of columns you're using. I'll just run through the settings in a second, because if you make them too wide and the machines you're using are of relatively narrow screen, you'll start to get things going off the side and you'll need to use the scroll bar to see them. So just worth noting that. But remember, even if you do save and publish, you can then go in and amend again. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm now going to go to the next tab, which is business information. Now on the business information screen, and this is what I was being cautionary about earlier, I might have had a design in here that saw things on, and if you'll remember, for people who've used Superoffice for a number of years, you'll remember that you can put the pixels in and move things around the screen. This is all now reverted to one column. So what I've got to be careful of here, or thoughtful of, is on the right hand side I have fields, elements, which is the ability to put labels, dividers, links and buttons in. I've got settings. Currently there's no field selected, so I could select something for NEC and EIC certified. I can hide the label left and right align, and do I want my text size normal, small or large? But the one I'm going for is columns. So currently on the business information screen, I have a 1-column design. I have the choice here of having a 2, 3 or 4-column design. So for simplicity, to show you today, I'm going to use the 2-column design. If I click on 2 columns, look what's happened. It's inserted a 2nd column. So what I want to do now is I want to pick up the turnover, and I'm picking it up by clicking on the 2 equal signs and dragging it across. I want to take the credit limit. I want to put it across. I want to put the account review date across, and I want to put the review frequency. So that's okay. It's pretty standard, but I can improve my design significantly now. So what I can do is go back to the left-hand side, go to elements, and I can now select a label. I'm going to drag a label over here. You can dump it wherever you want. I'm going to stretch it up to the top, and I'm going to double click over to elements, over to settings, select my label, and I'm going to change the label design. So it's not new label anymore. I'm going to call it account information. Again, please remember, I am just playing with a test system here, so I'm doing nothing more than adding things that I'll delete afterwards to show you a quick overview. I want this to be in large writing. Okay, now notice the difference if I come over here. It says account information. It's not in bold, it's just large. Turnover, credit limit. I'd actually like the credit limit just to go above the turnover. There we go. And I'm still in draft mode. Okay, so hopefully that's really useful. That's allowing us to do a lot better design now. I'm going to go to the next tab, which is note. So that's our notepad. We can't do much with that. Our interest tab. So this is where, again, the interest tab is automatically generated, but I want it to appear on the left-hand side because it's just a single column currently. I could, if I wanted, select multiple columns, keep the interest to the left and put some other fields on the right. Again, this is offering a lot more flexibility, but what adds on to this and goes even further now is you can now add your own tabs. So I could add a tab in here. This tab could be numerous different things, but I'm going to call it here. I'm going to call it simply an extra tab, and I'm going to have 2 columns. Okay, we're still in draft mode. I go back to fields, and now I might want to bring some other information onto this extra tab. For instance, information concerning on this particular system, high pressure regulators. I might want to bring across if they're interested in and I don't want to confuse this with interest because I'm using some of the general fields you would use across there, but again, just to emphasize this, I might want to bring the no mailings tab onto this screen as well. I might want to bring the priority tab. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here, and again, very simply, is the fact not only can I use the tabs that I've got there. Traditionally, you'd have to come and ask a developer to add a new tab. Now I can add that tab myself. If I've got all the additional information that I might be synchronizing across multiple systems, if it might be in a situation where it's fields that you've created that have never really had a home, you can create that home for them here. I'm going to save this as a draft for now, and it takes me back into the view screen, and I can see the extra tab now with the information. I can see the interest tab, the notes tab, and the business information tab that I've designed. This now runs consecutively for the contacts. Again, exactly the same. I can pick a contact that I want to have a look at. So we'll look at Fred. I've got his mobile number, his direct phone, his home address, which country he's based in, our contact, category number, position, and his academic title. Again, I can press edit here, and I can redesign that screen by dragging and dropping and adding new information. But I can also add some additional elements. I just want to show this at contact level. So for instance, here on the elements, I want to bring in a divider. So I'm going to put the divider just below his email address. When I press save, come back out, see it's inserted a line now as a divider between one piece of information and another in the same column. I think that's really useful to get that design just right. If I press edit, again, I go to element design, I can bring link across. Okay, now what link allows me to do is to put a URL link now into a button on the screen. So for instance, I could have here an action, execute a CRM script, do a Superoffice protocol shortcut. We can explain that in more detail when we do training on this. I can open website. So if I open website, I can put the URL in. I'll simply put the Synergy Technology website. I can specify what type of encoding I use for a website. Is it a new tab, same tab? Is it a mode, read-only, editing mode, or always? For a web, it'd always be a read-only. And is there a tooltip? So by saving that, I now have a link, and I can simply, when in a live system, click on that link and it will take me to that website. Using a website, probably a poor example, but it's a very simple example that I can use. Being able to execute scripts, being able to do something on that company card adds massive flexibility. For instance, if you've got a representative who's been out onto site, who's done a site visit, and you want to put a quick button in, so not a link, a button, which I'll show you now, you might want to execute a script that sends a thank you email to the customer. Simply by opening the customer card, by pressing that link, that will execute that instruction through CRM script. So again, I'm going to go to elements. I'm going to pick button. I'm going to put it over here. So it's a physical button now. Into elements, sorry. Settings, sorry. Click on button. This now allows me to create the button, and it could be click here. What's the action? So open a website, but this time I want to execute a CRM script. I might have a pre-written script in here, or I might want to write a quick script. That will then execute that script whenever I click that button. So let me just save the draft, and there's a physical button to do something. Because the button and the link can execute websites and buttons, it opens a whole new world of possibility. And that possibility allows us to do a lot more functions as workflow. Now that runs true across all. So if I go down to archive level now for the contact, so I'm still on contact down to archive level. Again, projects, relations, activities, sales, and requests, what you're used to on a standard system. I can then here start to change the layout. I can decide to reorder things for people. If I go across to relations, I've got my relations tab. I might want to change the order in which the columns are shown. Same with activities, same with requests, and same with sales. So all of these, I'm in a position where I can edit the layout and add in new columns. And you could do this from the original screen in Superoffice, but this has all been brought together in one screen designer now. And then you can set those defaults for certain teams and give it out through the system automatically. So again, with all of these, I'm making sure that I'm saving as draft all the time as I go through, and I can see the word draft continually appearing. The sales tab now, exactly the same again, and the project tab, the same again. So the idea here is really to give you, as I said at the outset, a quick view of what you can do with the screen design. The screen design is now bringing a lot more functionality to the user, to the company, to allow you to have those different designs for different teams, to make sure you're only showing the information you need to show to certain teams. And the most common one we get requests for on this is the sales team. Take away things that are not relevant, take away things that the guys and girls out in the field might not need to see, and just give them the core information, which means that the process becomes simplified. Give them buttons and actions that allow them to do things without having to go through and execute scripts or processes separately within Superoffice. So it's adding a lot more functionality into the system. As I say, screen design is available. Some users will get it as default. Some users will get it as an optional extra, but it's allowing that real high degree of flexibility in designing these screens across the company, the contact, the sale, and the project, and the respective activities below those levels. I hope that's been useful. This is Find Out More Friday, and the guys within Synergy Technology, myself and the ladies, we're all starting to plan to do a lot more of the Find Out More Fridays for our customers, to give them insights, little nuggets, which will help them get the best out of the systems. I hope that's useful. And thank you very much for listening and watching.